to the Red Leaf Card, your home for Canadian soccer news and views. My name is Jacob, and today we're going to be talking about the expansion team for the Canadian Premier League coming to Quebec, and also what's happening in League One Ontario. So, big news coming out of Quebec that there were some reports that there could be an expansion team in Quebec for the Canadian Premier League, but still has not been announced what city will be located. Some people are taking some mysteries of, let's just say, where will it be? I'm going to guess Quebec City or Montreal, Laval. But right now, a lot of the fans are just going to wait and see where will this first Quebec team be located. But right now, a lot of people are going to probably pick the city of Laval, just near Montreal. As known, the owners for this expansion team has been known. They are part of the Montreal area, and also an American who also runs some soccer teams out there. And we might see an actual big surprise coming in 2026 season for the Canadian Premier League, which was to be announced. But if we see that 2026 Canadian Premier League season be announced to have an expansion team in Quebec, would be a massive check mark for the Canadian Premier League that they wanted. They wanted to have a Quebecan team for the Canadian Premier League. It's a big must for them. And also, they're trying to go for other cities out there, like Quebec City. They're going for other cities out there, probably in the prairies, which, as known, Saskatoon didn't go well. As noticed, a lot of people saw what happened for the owners to have that rights to make an expansion team fell into a lawsuit, and also the demand for a stadium to happen in Saskatoon fell apart in that project for the Saskatoon expansion team. So right now, a lot of people are hoping to this Quebecan expansion team to actually be a check mark for the Canadian Premier League to actually happen, to boost a lot of fans, even for more players in Canada soccer. And you look at, for example, in League One Canada, you look at League One Quebec, it's one of the best competitive leagues in provincials. You look at, for example, League One Ontario, look at how League One Alberta now expanding, and look at BC. You're looking at now a process that all these other projects that are happening for Canada soccer, it's growing. But a lot of a question says, what about the other cities out there? Should the Canadian Premier League expand? As noticed, there's still questions. What about Windsor? What about some cities out there that probably should have an expansion team? I would love Quebec City. I would love probably in the city in Moncton. I would love a city in New Brunswick to have a team there. And also, again, have a team in Saskatchewan. I would love an expansion team for the Canadian Premier League to happen. And again, a lot of fans would say, bring a team in Edmonton. We want that comeback to have a team come back for Edmonton, but a lot of fans probably are not that whole Edmonton comeback is not growing with them. And you look at how it is for Edmonton, a lot of the whole Edmonton's fan base is more into the hockey, more into the CFL. It has to have that fan base for soccer in Edmonton come back. I would love Edmonton to come back, but is there a market there? Or can the Canadian Premier League make actually a CPL on tour match in Edmonton? That could be a good consideration. We look at it, for example, Kelowna, you look at Quebec City. Could it be another matchup happening? Could it be in Edmonton to put a market there? There's always a good chance. But right now you're looking at what happened in Quebec City. There was a market. And now you look at a potential expansion team in Quebec could always bring in another team. Now, talking like we talked about the whole Canadian Premier League, there's been some actual big things happened in the League One Ontario. As noticed, Quebec already has CS Saint Laurent. They have Alberta. They have their champs there. Even BC. Now you have Ontario, who still needs their champs for the regular season. We've seen some actual big stuff happening in League One Ontario. You look at, for example, what's happening in League One Ontario. As noticed, which teams who actually got promoted. You have Cambridge United just got promoted to the championship division. And now you have Sudbury Cyclones got promoted to the Premier Division. But which teams who are now in that race for the promotion for the Premier Division? You have Unionville, Malacan SC, who are clinched to the promotion. And for that third spot for the promotion, you have the Borough FC, you have York United Academy, you have Whitby FC, you have Masters FA trying to get to that promotion seat, but it's going to be hard for them. York United Academy, it's going to be hard for them. Whitby FC, probably a good chance to be in that running for it. And also Masters FA, also a chance. But if Borough FC does not do well in their final matches, it's a bummer for them. Because they did really well. But you're looking at which teams is to look at. You're looking at Sudbury Cyclones. Sudbury Cyclones is a team that is really to look at. Sudbury Cyclones is one of the youngest teams in League One Ontario for a team that has done well in the regular season. But looking at how they done in the League One Cup, as known, who they were versing was York United Academy. They went all the way to PKs, didn't make it to the next round. But they get to be in the Premier Division, which is a great accomplishment for a young team out of Sudbury. And you look at the Premier Division, you have two teams left to actually clinch for the 2026 Canadian Championship: Scorsel BFC and Woodbridge Strikers. As noted, Scorsopi FC, for a team who's won the League One Cup 3-1 against Vaughan Azzurri. That was one of the best matches we've seen for their first ever League One Cup win. They're trying to repeat that to go to the Canadian Championship. Well, you're looking at, and now you look at Woodbridge Strikers. They're trying to make a first appearance to the Canadian Championship. So looking at all these two teams, Woodbridge Strikers and Scorsopi FC, I look at this matchup and it's the last match. It's the last matchup happening for Scorsopi FC and Woodbridge Strikers. And you look at what's the final matches for those two teams. Scorsopi FC is going to be versing North Toronto Nitros, and Woodbridge Strikers is going to be versing FC London. And that's going to be hard for Scorsopi FC to actually make another appearance to the Canadian Championship. And you look at Woodbridge Strikers against FC London. FC London is last place. They're already in that relegation. North Toronto Nitros is also in that playoff for relegation. So looking at Scorsopi FC versus North Toronto Nitros, and you look at FC London versus Woodbridge Strikers, that's a question mark for these two matches. Can FC London make an upset against the Woodbridge Strikers? Or North Toronto Nitros make also an upset? But again, you're looking at, there's still these two matches that if Scorsopi FC wins and Woodbridge Strikers also wins, Woodbridge Strikers moves on and actually clinches to the Canadian Championship. And you have to give credit to the Strikers and Scorsopi FC how they played this season. And you look at, again, the other divisions out there who did really well in this season. I have to say this. You look at the League One Cup in Ontario. Which team did good, which team did bad? The biggest upset happened was Cambridge United defeating Alliance United. I just have to say this. It was the biggest upset that happened. When you look at Simcoe County Rovers that was versing Cambridge United in the second round of the round of 16, that ended it of being one of the underdogs in this season. And again, you look at York United Academy, first ever season, upsetting Sudbury Cyclones. They did well. I would say that York United Academy did well, but Woodbridge Strikers ended their actual run in that League One Cup. But Vaughan Azzurri just ended the Woodbridge Strikers. But the chance that Vaughan Azzurri almost got ended was Burlington SC. Not just that. Also Oakville. There were a lot of matches in the League One Ontario Cup that were really good. But I have to say this, looking at that was the best match, was one of the biggest upsets, was Alliance United versus Cambridge United. And also including the finals, Scorsopi FC versus Vaughan Azzurri. Vaughan Azzurri was like one of the best teams in the League One Cup of Ontario. But Scorsopi FC winning their first cup shows that all those years and now showing how competitive they are. But can next year's League One Cup, the next year's season for Scorsopi FC be more better? Can Scorsopi FC make a repeat to go to the Canadian Championship? Can they repeat of winning the League One Ontario Cup and on. Or we will see another team in League One Ontario being the new champs. And that's full time of the Red Leaf Card. You could follow us on X, YouTube, Spotify. I'm your host Jacob, subbing out.